Good morning, I'm Simon Gutt. I'm speaking to Mr. Michael Bonello, Governor of the Central Bank of Malta, in his offices in Valletta. Good morning, Mr. Bonello.
Good morning.
Malta's financial infrastructure has weathered the storms of the past 2 years very well, though the economy as a whole did suffer. During the recent recessions, some sectors suffered disproportionately. Can this create economic imbalances?
Well, considering the sharp drop in global demand in 2009 and Malta's high trade dependence, I would say that the economy has performed remarkably well. The recession was both short and mild. It lasted for 3 quarters in 2009, and for the year as a whole, we had a GDP drop of just about 2%, which is half as much as in the euro area. And the drop from the previous peak to the trough of the recession was about 3.4% compared to 5.3% in the euro area. Now, this resilience, I think, can be attributed to a number of reasons. A major reason, of course, has been the process of diversification towards high value-added service sectors, particularly the financial services and other business-related services, combined with the fact that Malta's reputation as a well-regulated jurisdiction did not suffer as a result of the crisis, unlike that of some other well-known financial centers. Now, this resilience, I think, is likely to be reinforced in the coming years as the diversification process continues, and sectors which come to mind in this respect would be aircraft maintenance, aircraft registration, and ICT-related smart city, and so on. Another factor which, of course, has increased the capacity of the economy to withstand external shocks has been the adoption of the euro as the national currency. And yet another was the targeted financial assistance which was given to firms which were experiencing a loss of export orders during the recession, but which were committed to maintain and, in some cases, expand their operations in Malta. The impact of the recession was felt mainly by the manufacturing and tourism sectors, because electronic components and tourism account for the bulk of Malta's export earnings. And these two sectors were particularly hit during the global recession. But the sharp drop that we saw in these two sectors in Malta was entirely cyclical in nature. And in fact, we have seen a very strong recovery in both manufacturing exports and in tourism and tourism receipts during the first half of this year. And this has helped the economy grow by an average of 4% in real terms in the first half. So I think it can be safely said that the recession has not given rise to imbalances, at least insofar as output and trade are concerned. Having said that, I think it is important to bear in mind that a dynamic economy will always contain sectors that are growing and others that are in decline.
Of course. Would you attribute the stability of Malta's financial system to the prudent policies on the part of the banks operating in Malta? Would this be what some people have called the maintenance of strong values and basic principles of banking?
Well, this is certainly the main reason, but by no means the only one. The traditional banking business model is indeed a source of strength for Malta's banks. It depends on retail deposits and both corporate and household deposits to fund the bank's lending activities. And currently, customer deposits exceed customer loans by some 32 percentage points. Now, this is reinforced by capital and liquidity ratios, which have been consistently above the required regulatory minimum. They are currently at about 15% and 48% on average, respectively. And on top of that, of course, an added factor have been the diversified portfolios the banks have had throughout, which do not contain toxic assets. So, and the healthy condition of Malta's banks, as I have already indicated, was confirmed by the recent stress tests which we conducted earlier this year. Now, this prudent banking model was, however, also encouraged, I must say, by the existence of a rigorous yet non-intrusive regulatory and supervisory regime which conforms to EU directives and to the highest international standards. And I think another enabling factor has been the country's relatively strong macroeconomic fundamentals. And this is reflected in the fact that Malta's credit rating status was not changed throughout the crisis, and also in the fact that there is a seemingly undiminished degree of investor confidence in Malta.
Well, in fact, through the financial crisis, it appears that the financial services sector continued to grow in Malta. All things being equal, one would have expected it to shrink or at best remain stable. What, in your opinion, continued to attract business to Malta?
Well, Malta's continued attraction as a location for financial service activity, I think, is probably due to a combination of factors. The reputation now that Malta enjoys as a financial centre, remember, has been built up patiently over the past 15 years or so. It is based on a modern regulatory and supervisory regime, which is, as I said, thorough and yet flexible, and it is characterized by comprehensive legislation, by easy accessibility to the regulator, which is very important, and by transparency. Now, apart from some of the other characteristics I mentioned in the answer to the previous question, there are other contributing factors as well. And I think an important one here is the fact that Malta is a euro area jurisdiction which offers passporting rights into the EU. It offers ready availability of qualified staff at competitive salaries and reasonably priced commercial premises, an attractive fiscal regime and good communications. And finally, if anecdotal evidence is to be believed, the fact that Malta has not been in the news for the kind of negative reasons that have characterized some other financial centres has itself served a useful purpose. Amidst all the financial turbulence and economic and political even instability which has prevailed in some countries, Malta seems to have acquired some kind of a safe haven status. The challenge now is to make sure that this reputation is, one, deserved, and two, preserved.